Hey everybody, welcome to Latest with Laura and Beth. We changed the name. It used to just be Latest with Laura, but Beth is so instrumental in putting all of this together that we had to have her name in the title too. I see that we've got some new people in the group, so let's just get started by explaining what's in this bottle. These are redox signaling molecules. This is a bioreplenishment. It is an exact replication of what's already in all of your cells, or it should be. So your mitochondria make it, but as you get older, you're making less and less and less because you just don't have as much mitochondria as you get older. And so it's better than all natural. It's native to your cells, so it can't interfere with any medication. You can't be allergic to it because it belongs in your body. It is so fundamental in the healing process and in cellular communication. And that's why older people in general have more health challenges or take longer to recover because they just don't have as much as they get older. We have a lot as little kids and as teenagers, but then once you get into about your 20s, you're making around 10% less every single decade that you age. So by the time you're 50, you're really depleted of this. How does it work? It amplifies and it clarifies the signals between and within your cells. So they're just talking to each other better. That way they can detect and repair and replace damaged cells. It boosts your antioxidants. So in particular, glutathione, superoxide dismutase go way, way up. So your immune system is fortified. And then what is exciting to me is it turns on genes for your cardiac system, your immune system, your inflammatory system, your digestive system, and your hormone modulation. So it just empowers your body or your cells to work better and heal faster. Every health challenge involves cells. So sometimes people are like, is it good for this? Is it good for that? Do you have a testimonial for this? You don't really need one. You just have to say, are cells involved? Because every health challenge involves cells. So there you go. Tonight is really special because we have my very good friend, Rebekah Dixon, joining us and her mom, Connie. And they've got a whopper of a story for you. Rebekah is just one of my favorite people. I love to see her at conferences, and I'm always checking every week. I go into my back office and I go to the specialty awards, and I'm looking for my team and how are they all doing, and I want to celebrate them, and I'm always like, well, there's Rebekah again. She's always winning these awards, so she is a superstar. So Rebekah and Connie, I just would love to shift the spotlight to you and hear your ASEA story, please.
Well, I think I'll start. Thank you so much for having us tonight. We're really excited to be here with you. I discovered ASEA redox when it was back in 2022, January 2022, when I got sick with that stuff that was going around. I went down with it and I thought, you know what? I like doing things the natural way. So I was trying everything in my wheelhouse that I knew to do to get better, and nothing was helping. And so I had a sweet friend reach out to me, and she shared redox with me. She is also a nutrition therapist. And so I was always picking her brain about what can I do to eat healthier? What can I do to help my body get over such and such? And so she said, I'm going to bring you a bottle of redox. I'm going to bring you a tube of gel, and I'm going to bring you some bone broth, and I'm going to give you some directions. Just drink it, rub it, use it. At the time, the biggest symptoms I had were really tightness in my chest. I was having issues breathing. The head discomfort was out of this world. And I wasn't sleeping well because I had such discomfort all over my body, especially in my joints. And it's hard to get better when you can't rest. And so I got some stuff and I started drinking it, and I started using the gel on my joints, and immediately felt some relief and discomfort using the gel. I didn't notice a huge difference when I first started drinking redox, but it was probably about a week in, and my husband, so sweet, he was manning the house for me, and overall, I think it was probably about 3 weeks until I really felt like I was feeling more like myself again. But halfway through that, he was getting really nervous, and he said, if I don't start seeing improvement, I really think I need to take you somewhere. And I didn't want to go anywhere. And so I said, well, stop asking me how I feel for one, because that was his normal question all the time. How are you feeling? And I kept answering the same, I feel horrible. And so it was about 2 weeks in, I remember him coming upstairs and he asked me the same question. I gave him a look and he left. And so then in the evening, he came back and he popped his head in and he said, how are you feeling? Because I was actually sitting up in bed and I looked over at him and I said, I don't really know how to describe it other than I feel different. And I feel like my body's not losing anymore. And he said, your coloring is different and you look different. And it was like a switch had gone off inside my body, is the only way I can really describe it. And it wasn't miraculous. I got up and I was great. But over time, from that point on, I felt like things started changing. They started getting better. And so I started to breathe in redox. I had an apparatus that I used, and I feel like that was essential to helping my body do what it needed to do to heal. And then over time, the extreme fatigue lifted. I got my energy back. I felt like I could breathe normally again. And then all of a sudden, I feel like, because healing is always an up and down, right? We have layers of healing. All of a sudden, I hit another healing crisis and I completely lost my voice, which is difficult because I'm a vocalist and I use it to teach music. And so I lost my voice and I felt like I was getting worse again. So one beautiful thing about ASEA is the fact that you're never alone. And so I reached out to two friends in ASEA and I said, what is going on? What am I doing wrong? Or what should I be doing? And they were able to walk right beside me through it. I increased my dosage that I was taking. We felt that that was a good thing for me to do. I started breathing more in. I mean, I was probably doing that 2 to 3 times a day. And then lo and behold, in a couple of weeks, that cleared up. But what I noticed after that was some issues that I'd been having with my sinuses and with the seasonal things going around. All of that was gone. And I didn't struggle with that anymore. So it was this other layer of healing that I didn't even know I really needed, that my body was taking care of. So in a nutshell, that's kind of how I was introduced to it. And then lo and behold, one by one, people started asking me how I was doing and how I got better. And I was sharing what had worked for me with them. And I just started helping people have an increase of health in a lot of different areas of their life. So in the midst of all of that, I had introduced this to my dad because he at the same time was going through a similar struggle. And so he had quite a longer road of recovery, but he is completely well now. And I'd introduced redox to my parents and they weren't quite sure what to think about it.
It was very salty and didn't taste good.
And so I don't think they drank much of it. But it was probably about a year after them first, being introduced to it. We had a sweet friend and mentor of mine, Donna Lynn Dominguez, come in to Ohio, and she did a workshop for us, and we were able to pick her brain, and she's such a wealth of knowledge. So I was able to introduce my mom to her, and Donna Lynn has played such a vital role in my walk with ASEA, and is such a dear friend of mine. I was really excited for the two ladies to meet. And pretty immediately, Donna Lynn asked her how much she was taking, and I think it was 2 to 4 ounces.
Yes, I was taking like 4 ounces a day. And she said, well, honey, I really think you need to up it to 8 ounces. So I have ever since last June. From that in-service, I have been taking, my husband and I both. I said, well, you need to do this too, because we need to share in our health journey. So we take 8 ounces a day. And then Rebekah said, well, Mom, the vitamins are really good, the vitamins and supplements. And so then I started taking those, and she said, well, and so I said, I'll just take all of them. So I have for a year, I've been taking all of them. And then that led into skincare. And so then I decided, oh, let's just go with that too. So, I mean, I really have loved the vitamin supplements, the skincare. And during last August, I have a slight thing with the heart. So anyway, I went there and during a CT, cardiac scoring, they discovered I had a hiatal hernia. So I put it off, and I was just kind of dealing with it for a while. And finally I decided, well, I really needed to get it taken care of. So, and I was and I noticed I was trying to eat healthy, but I kept gaining weight, and just weird things like bulges where they shouldn't be, and just different things. And I noticed I was getting numbness in my thighs. And I even mentioned to my doctor, my husband, maybe I need to go to another doctor somewhere because things just don't seem right. And so we scheduled a hiatal hernia on, so June 24th, 8 weeks ago yesterday, I went in for hiatal hernia
Surgery.
for surgery. And he said that he didn't know if he'd be able to do everything he wanted to do because the tests that I'd had beforehand with the esophagus hadn't really turned out. So I said, well, I put it in your hands. I asked God to bless the surgery, and whatever you need to do, go ahead and do. And so 30 minutes.
So 30 minutes into, I went to the hospital with Dad, and 30 minutes into it, the nurse came and said, the doctor wants to talk to you. And we thought, wow, that was quick, such a quick fix. And we went into the room, and the doctor came in, and he seemed a little agitated. And Dad said, wow, that was a very quick procedure. And he said, actually, we haven't started yet. And we said, well, why not? And he said, well, it was supposed to be done laparoscopically. And so he said, when he went in with the camera, he said, I can't see what I need to see, and something doesn't look right inside. At the time, he thought there's something going on with her bowels. And he kept saying, it just doesn't look healthy. It looks very unhealthy. And so we're going to put the hiatal hernia surgery on the back burner, and we're going to open her up, if I have permission, and we're going to see what's going on. And so he listed a couple of things that it could be and a couple of different fixes that he may have to do. And so overall, we said, okay, go ahead. And so he left, and Dad and I sat there just kind of incredulous, thinking, what in the world is going on? And so on a side note, because my family drinks Cell Performance, we live by them, we love them. I had brought Mood and Mind to the hospital with me. And so I was shaking up some, Mood inside a water bottle, and I handed it to my dad while we were talking. And I said, here, Dad, drink this. And I said, it's just gonna, help us stay calm throughout all of this. And so it was really nice to have the tools on hand as we waited. So about an hour and a half later, the nurse comes back out and says, doctor wants to see you now. And so we went back in thinking that the doctor was going to talk to us about what the procedure would be that he would have to do. And when he came in, he was very chipper, and he said, okay, I'm all done. Mm-hmm. And we said, done with what? Like, what exactly had to happen? Mm-hmm. And then that's when he went in to tell us what he had found.
Yeah. And so in the process, he noticed that there was a large mass in the lower left-hand side of my abdomen, and it was being fed by a vein about the size of his finger, and it had engulfed part of an ovary that was left on my left-hand side into a huge mass. And he said it was taking up the space of someone being 35 weeks pregnant. And so, but he was able to remove it completely. And I'm just so thankful that, he was apologizing for not doing the hiatal hernia. And I said, well, I'm just glad that you had the wisdom to go ahead and remove all that. But what I think was so remarkable was it was able to be removed completely intact. And I just really think that taking ASEA, I mean, I was taking extra, leading up to the surgery and all the year beforehand. And I really think that my body was just being prepared, that it was taking me through all this, keeping my body as healthy as possible. And I know that afterwards, I was continuing to take more of it after the surgery, but I just recovered so quickly. Immediately, like within a week, mm-hmm. I just felt so much better.
Well, surgery was on a Friday, and after all of that, everybody kept saying, you're going to be in here for a while, that you're an anomaly. Like, we don't know what's going on and how this happened to you, but mm-hmm. you're going to be in here for at least a week. And so we were gearing up for that. And then by Monday morning, the doctor came in and said, how you feeling? And she said, I'm feeling good. And he said, well, let's go home today. We said, all right. So,
and tests that came back, they were coming back negative, praise the Lord. And he said, but I really would like for you to also see a specialist. So we did. We went to the specialist, and I remember Rebekah and my husband and I were sitting there, and he came in and he just looked at me and he said, well, you're the picture of health. And, like just so surprised of what he was seeing at age 73. And so he was said, he wanted to have me go through a few more tests and some blood work. And to make a long story short, in the about the month, he was doing all these tests, and they've all come back negative. And so I'm just so thankful, and just praising the Lord, and just I feel better than I felt in a long time. Any numbness I had has gone away. I was thinking when Rebekah was telling things, it's like things that you get so used to in your life that's going on, and then all of a sudden you find that they're not there anymore. And I think back, I don't have my seasonal cold and laryngitis that I would get every year. It's just I just really feel better than I have felt in a long time. And just am so thankful.
I feel like there was so much in advance that, we believe that the Lord prepared her for. A year ago, having Donna Lynn come in for the workshop and having her understand just through her teaching why redox was important and what it was really doing for the body, and why it is such a vital part of what our body is, allows our body to be able to do, for her to take more and for her to be consistently taking that. And then for her to trust me before surgery. I loaded her up, and then after, even post-surgery, I was in the hospital and I had my bottle there, and I would make sure as soon as she was allowed to drink liquid, we were drinking that. And even before that, I was rubbing the gel on her. And I just knew that we had the tools that were going to allow her body to heal immediately after surgery. And as a daughter, there was just so much comfort in knowing that I could at least do something, because sometimes we feel like we can't do anything. But to know that we had something that was completely right for her, no matter the situation, to know that redox, just allows the body to take care of things when we don't even know what's going on. And that was one thing that the specialist said. He said, this had to have been growing on the inside of your body for a long time, and couldn't get over the fact that mom's not been sick. She's not had other symptoms that would lead us to believe that there was something going on, other than, just like she said, feeling bloated and enlarged because she was eating healthy, but her weight wasn't going down. And after surgery, the doctor kept saying to my dad and I before we saw her, she's lost a lot of weight. You're going to really notice the difference. And so we went in, and you're still a little, covered up from surgery and stuff. And so, but even then, Dad was looking at me like, oh my gosh. And then when we finally found out the size of this growth, my sister, she's a baker, and she's like, you guys, it's like the size of a 10-inch cake pan. Like, think of that. So we were like, wow, it really is, that's quite large. So just so thankful that we had something that could prepare Mom and then help her through the rest of her healing.
Well, I think that is absolutely phenomenal. So glad. So glad for you guys, and so glad that you were here to share your story. It's just absolutely amazing. A few things kind of jumped out at me. Rebekah, I loved when you said it just felt like a switch was going off, because that's actually literally what is happening. The redox molecules are these teeny tiny little molecules. They're not like food where you digest them. They're so small that your cells absorb them, and they go to whatever part of your body is wanting or needing them the most. and they get absorbed into the cells, and then switches get turned on. Things that need to be turned on or expressed, that happens. And then there's this domino or cascading effect where all the neighboring cells, their switches go on. And then it leads to just overall more, health and resiliency. So I love that you said that. I loved that you talked about how Donna Lynn had a conversation with your mom, and it just, the power of just speaking up and sharing your story, you might be saving a life. So I loved that. I loved that you were giving your mom more before the surgery. I always tell people if they're going to have a surgery, have a whole bunch. It's going to make your surgery go faster, and then have a whole bunch afterwards. You're going to recover faster. It made me think of my own father. So he'd fallen and broken his arm and had to go into the hospital. It was non-negotiable. He had to do what I said. And so he drank a bottle a day every day leading up to the surgery. Surgery was lickety split. And then he got released immediately. And just a few days after the surgery, he goes and takes his cast off in the middle of the night, which infuriated my mom because he was supposed to have that for many, many weeks. And it followed up by physical therapy. And my mom, she was just like, you get back to the hospital and you get another cast on. And he was a very non-compliant kind of guy. And so he went back to the hospital, and they're like, you don't need a cast and you don't need physical therapy. This just helps you recover. According to the scientist who figured out how to stabilize these molecules, he said you will heal 7 to 10 times faster if you have them.
Yeah.
So anyway, I absolutely love your story, and I honor you, and I am so grateful that you were here tonight.
Thanks for
Thank
having us,
you.
Laura.